And welcome to a special episode of the In 90 Minutes podcast. Thank you, everybody, for being with us this Monday, September 1st. Gentlemen, it's September 1st. I can't believe it. I don't know about you. How's everybody doing this fabulous, fabulous September 1st? Everybody doing well?
Doing
We just lost.
great.
John just went offline.
Yeah,
I
everybody
guess
had
that says
a
how he's feeling right now.
yeah, right. Listen, I'm not gonna
Nah,
put too much stock on what's happening. I mean, I got my health. I got great family, great friends. So that's how it is. Hopefully, everybody
absolutely.
had a fantastic Labor Day. And I think John and our guest dropped out.
Yeah. Well, John, yeah, I think he might have dropped. So while we wait back for John to jump back on with us, thank you to everybody watching. As always, if you don't already, please follow, like, and subscribe our channels. And I'm
Okay,
hearing an
it's
echo.
back feed. All right, I just muted that.
Okay. Um, If you don't follow, like, and subscribe already, please do so. We're on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Blue Sky as In 90 Minutes Podcast. And you can always watch us live on Mondays. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch. And also, if you are not able to be on with us live and watch the show as it unfolds, you can always consume the podcast wherever you consume your podcasts. We're available through Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. All right. That's the spiel. We don't have a shortage of stuff to talk about this week, gentlemen. We have a lot since we last spoke. Before we get into the first team and all of that fun stuff, do we want to talk just some housekeeping stuff about OCB or the Pride? Is there any of that stuff that we want to cover?
Yeah, well, OCB won this past weekend at the death and 1-0 against Crown Legacy at home. So if anybody had the opportunity to go, God bless you. It was awesome to witness that. I watched the game, and I thought it was going to end up being a 0-0. And surprise, surprise, we snatched victory from the jaws of ties, and that's pretty much it.
All right. Anything on OCB? Or
Luckily, with the win, they jump up to eighth place, so they're in the last playoff spot right now. They're pretty far. Yeah, they're 18 points behind first place, 3 points out of seventh, 8 points out of sixth. So they have some catching up to do. So hope this is a sign of things to come because Crown Legacy, I believe we lost to them earlier in the year. So it's good to see them come out with the win. I wasn't able to watch it. I had other things going on, unfortunately.
understood, understood. Okay. So do we want to just jump right in?
Let's do
Oh,
that.
the pride. Well, the pride did win. Or they didn't win. Sorry, they lost on Saturday. 2-0. Kind of, unfortunately, same old from what they have been. Just lack of offense. They do have um, the women's Champions Cup starting this week, where they have two
Mhm.
matches tomorrow, and then a match on Sunday. Starts group play. I believe they do it like group play, and so they have two matches this week, and then obviously next Monday we'll cover what happened with them and um, cover their cover what how they did this week.
Yeah, that's it. I would like to thank the club, Kay Rollins, Jared Dillon, who did fantastic by our friend Jake from Newcastle. For those that are not familiar, Jake is a fan of Orlando City that lives in Newcastle, England. This is a guy that stays up to the wee hours of the night watching this club for any game, regardless what it is. And every year he plans to visit Orlando to catch a game. And unfortunately, this year the game was rescheduled, as you guys know. Jake suffers from a condition where basically he was meant to go blind permanently. Fortunately, some scientific breakthroughs have saved some of his eyesight. A couple of years back, he made the news because he came to watch Orlando for the very last time. Thank God that did not come to to be a thing, and the club took him to the Pride game, put him in a suite. I mean, he took pictures with everybody. I mean, it was a fantastic day for him and his sister. So I just want to remind everybody that our club is a fantastic organization, and regardless where you live and how many games you go to, if you wear purple, you're one of us. So thank you very much to the club, and it happiness for our, at least the result wasn't what we wanted, but the man got to enjoy a little bit of Orlando City while he was here. So Jake, if you're hearing this, man, happy for you and very proud of that. um if there's nothing else, we have a guest, someone that was at the game in Miami. And Lucas, if you can hear me, I just want to make sure that you can, because we had some problems earlier. I
Lucas, can you hear us or no?
Yeah, Lucas, can you hear us? Okay, let me
He's muted. It looks like.
yeah, let me see if I can get a hold of him. And again, live show, and this is how it goes, guys.
So just to recap, while we're waiting for Lucas to come back, this past Wednesday we went on the road uh, to that land in the south. We were headed for the semifinal of the Leagues Cup. Exactly.
Sorry,
Exactly my
I didn't
point.
mute my microphone.
Ivy, we need to get you your own microphone because you thought you that's exactly what I was thinking. Um we we lost. I'm just gonna put it there. Right? We scored 1 goal. Miami scored 3 goals. We all saw this. We all have a lot of opinions on this, and I'm already seeing the comments come in. So here's what I'll say. Last week when we had the show before this match, I said we already know what is going to happen with this match. We know how the refs are going to be. We know how this league is. And what we cannot do is we cannot score 1 goal and sit back. We can't let this be a 1 goal match. We can't. I said we literally have to do what we did to them at our home in their house. Right? And I get it. We got robbed. But if you've ever been a tourist in a foreign country, they tell you to have situational awareness. They tell you make sure you're not an easy victim. They tell you all of these things. And you know what we did? We were like a tourist in the middle of Times Square flashing gold, jewelry, and cash. And we were like, here, pick my pocket. Right? Seriously. And I get it. I'm upset about it too. And I 100% think what we thought was going to happen happened. But we also could have done more. There are opportunities that we missed. There are things that we did not do to make that robbery more difficult. You don't beat a team like that by scoring 1 goal and just hanging out. We came out, I don't know what we were doing, honestly. The way we came out, I was just like, I don't know this team. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you, brother. I know that your image is frozen, but
Yeah.
the audio is still out there. Lucas is on, but he's not on what he's on. He's on. Oh, there he is. Awesome. Don't worry about the picture, Ahmed. As long as the
Yeah,
audio.
my laptop's about to go down for a reboot, so
Okay, but let's
I'll
go ahead
see
and
when it
introduce
comes back.
Lucas, and while you figure that out, Lucas and I were talking on social media. He was at the game.
social media. He was at the game. Talking on social media. He was at the talking on
Okay,
social
there's
media.
a
He
little
was
bit
at
of
the social
feedback.
media.
I'm gonna mute you there for a second, Lucas. So And he's just gonna tell us about the experience, which wasn't pleasant, and that's the reason why I say, hey man, you need to be on the show because it's important that the powers to be get to understand what our fan base went through at this event. We're a guest. We behaved unlike their kind that is always causing trouble wherever they go. So Lucas, just take us through how was it to get down there, how was it during the game, and how was it getting back? Yeah, brother, go ahead. Hey, Lucas, I'm gonna interrupt you for a second because John is saying people are saying that they can't hear Lucas. So sorry, Lucas, it's not you, brother. It's yeah. Okay, John, can you hear him? Okay, John, you're muted though.
How about
Okay,
now?
okay.
That's better?
Misael, if you
Because
can
I
hear him,
can't hear you, but for the time being, I'll speak because it looks like I can be heard. So,
okay.
um, yeah, like you had said, it was a bit of it wasn't the result we were looking for, unfortunately, for, of course, the first 70 plus minutes of the match. We had a lot of energy as fans, high hopes, of course, going into, the end of the match, but you could hear there were murmurs around me of fans thinking, all right, we're at Miami here. This is not going to be the end of it right here. Something is going to happen. And, as everyone had seen, that is the case. It was just really baffling how fast everything had transpired from, the penalty call that just felt like it came out of nowhere. Unfortunately, for a lot of us fans, we were on the other side of that garbage stadium. So it, we couldn't really get a great glimpse of it at the time. But watching the replay, we were just kind of all in awe of, well, how could this be? And how is the rest of the game going to play out given, the penalty call and then Messi scoring?
You guys got to see the
Unfortunately, that
penalty that was.
stadium is as irritating as can be when Messi scores, of course. I mean, like I've seen other people on social media say, the how do I say this? Like, I don't want to say festivities, but like the fireworks, the stadium announcer, the entire crowd saying Messi. I get it, of course, but the first time it gets under your skin, and then the second time we're down a man, us as fans, we're a little bit more frantic. Of all right, well, they got a penalty, we're down a man. We kind of just need this to go to penalties right now, and unfortunately, just minutes later, just out of nowhere, you just see Messi get the ball on the other side of the field. He goes through a few players, scores, and yeah, it was a very how do I say this? You get this big hole in your stomach. At that point, it kind of felt like the game was lost, more or less, just because we were already down to 10 men. We were already trying to play very conservatively before they even got the pen. So you got to imagine, all right, well now we're forced down 2-1 to get down the field and try and get one back. But at that point, we felt like the game was against us, and then we're down 3-1 at that point. It was like, this is pretty ugly now.
So did the security treat you guys okay and everything? I know that's been an issue in the
I
past.
didn't actually see the Angulo Busquets, debacle. I mean, I know rewatching it, it looked like that was an obvious penalty to me. I mean, I know I'd seen a post where Sergio Busquets had said, like, what can I do? I can't levitate off of the field. I can't go somewhere else. He ran into me, but it made the Brecalo call on the other side of the field just feel way, way, way more harsh after, seeing all of this at the end of the day. So I think you don't have to be an Orlando City supporter to see that we deserved much more out of the game than we had received by the final whistle. It just felt like the irony was a bit too much to believe, there in real time at the stadium and being on the podcast here with you guys now. It still feels just as perplexing now as it did then.
I believe Lucas can't hear me, but John, if you can relay the message. So how was it getting out of the stadium? Was security there to protect you guys, or what was? I mean, we just got railroaded, and then emotions are running high. John, can you hear me? Okay, guys. If my apologies, it seems like the guys can't hear me. So if you can,
I can hear you, David. Lucas, can you hear me? Yeah, I don't think he can hear any of us. I think he
okay,
has
I'm gonna mute, but I would like to ask him about how was it getting out of the stadium, because I know he heard you before. All right, so I'm
Leaving the stadium wasn't as bad as you'd think. I know by the time we were down 3-1, the opposing fans were just raining down on us. I mean, I know there's one guy that's been ingrained in my mind everywhere I go, thinking about him. He was this guy in one of the luxury terraces, if you really want to call it luxury, right? But he had this Chicago Bulls, leather jacket on and jeans. Of course, I mean, kind of resembling the South American antics you might get out of River Plate or Gimnasia or anything like that in Argentina. But besides that guy, and the fans giving us a little bit of heckling by the final whistle, we didn't really hear anything from them. I mean, surprisingly, they got us out of the stadium pretty quickly. I mean, I know in other games I've been to, we'd be the last people out of the stadium, but they got us out pretty quickly. I know regarding security, at the last game I went to for the 3-0 game in May, security was the worst I've seen at any sporting event in my life, any country I've been to for football. I mean, they were tossing us out like none other. I mean, only in Atlanta and Miami have I seen fans getting thrown out for just such small things, right? I mean, everyone was told before the game, you can't even say, the F word, you can't curse, you can't, hassle the other fans or anything like that. But this game, we were pretty good about, keeping to ourselves for the most part, not doing anything to get thrown out. I know one guy in that 3-0 game in May, he was maybe 18, 19 years old, came down with us, and he got thrown out during warm-ups. He didn't even make it to kickoff at all. So that was bad then, but no, on Wednesday, I wouldn't say it was too bad, but I would give more credit to Orlando fans than to Miami security. Was he with the supporters group? Seats. He was with the supporters group when it happened. I won't say his name just without having his permission, but I know he was with ILF. I don't think it was anything too crazy either. Which if someone's being just an absolute wreck in the stands before the game, I can understand reasonably why someone would get thrown out. But I mean, at the time, I had a video of him getting thrown out, and though he was unhappy about it and he was causing a stir by the time security had grabbed him and wrangled him up, it wasn't anything where he was just being totally egregious, just out of line. but all of us as supporters had gotten kind of riled up. I mean, we were kind of an angry mob before the game had even kicked off. I mean, from ILF and Ruckus, we were just going crazy. So, yeah, this game was a little bit different, but you know, it happens.
We've been having some issues with the
All right, guys,
audio.
I appreciate you having me on the podcast. You guys are great. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing the next episode. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. My my apologies for the audio situation. He couldn't hear us, and we couldn't hear him. If somebody on the comments can let us know if our audio is back to normal.
Yeah, I was able to hear the audio because I was listening as I was on the thing on
Yeah, I
on
was
my
able
phone.
to. Some people say that they
I think what
couldn't.
happened was he turned his speaker down so that we wouldn't get the feedback, but then he couldn't hear what we were saying. He should have probably been using like a headphone or something, but that's all good.
It's all right. It worked out.
Yep. All right, so I'm back. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, about the Miami match, I mean, you know, I wasn't on last week's show, but I commented, you know, was commenting on it. I didn't have a voice. I wanted to be on the show, but I didn't have a voice, and nobody wants to hear that. But you know, we said, like Ahmed was saying, don't give the referee an opportunity to get involved, and we did. I mean, Angulo missed a 1v1 with the keeper. We sit there, you know, first 15-20 minutes of the second half was okay, I guess. And then it's like it hit that 65th to 65th minute, and we forgot how to clear our lines, forgot how to maintain possessions. And honestly, looking at the match, it was sloppiness that was there, but because we had fresher legs, didn't kill us, you know, early in the match. And then the slot, you know, they continued to try the fancy stuff. I mean, you probably need about 8 hands to count the amount of times that Muriel tried something fancy and it didn't work out in the match. You know, we had guys just not able to get control of the ball, guys getting bodied off the ball left and right. You know, so I mean, the poor refereeing aside, we didn't go out and win that game. We, you know, sat back. The last 25 minutes of that match, we sat back, and you know, if you make it a half field game like that, that's playing into Miami's hands because they have older guys that, you know, tire out quicker. And if they only have to run half the distance, they're not going to tire out. And we did that. We left it up to the official. The official seemed to have something out for Brecalo at the beginning of for the entire match. And, you know, that's what he let it, you know, he called a penalty on them or on us and you know, unfortunately, it was the second yellow card for Brecalo.
All right.
And then, you know, the rest is history. Down to 10 men against any team of any sort of attacking quality is going to be difficult.
All right, my turn. Drop that beat. You know, you know. I gotta say it like this, guys. When you see media in Argentina calling it a robbery, I'm gonna call it a robbery. Okay, that's what it was. You have a team that on its way to the final had 4 PKs. Four, four. The only team in the whole tournament that gets 4 PKs. I'm sorry. The yellows on Brecalo were not yellows. The PK that you did not call on Angulo was so egregious that Taylor Twellman, the biggest brown noser in the universe, the biggest Messi Inter Miami hates Orlando with, I guess he had an ex-girlfriend in Orlando, something, I don't know. That person says that should have been a PK because at that point of the game, it's 2-0 Orlando. They are down to 10 men. And then they have Busquets has the audacity to say that it was not a penalty, that he doesn't think so. And I'm sorry, the league, who has a financial interest on Lionel Messi to be on that final, made the decision to cut our wings. I don't mind losing to a Miami that wins. I have a problem losing to a ref that already has been called for being showing favoritism to the local team wherever he goes, someone who has been called into question for corruption in Central America, someone who, quite honestly, fabricates a penalty. How interesting it is that the penalty comes in when the game is basically going away from Miami. But like Ahmed and John already said, if you go out there and you are 1v1 with the goalkeeper and you score, end of the story. Our goal, the one that Marco Pasalic scored, they kept saying, "No, it was handballs." It wasn't a handball. I
No.
watched frame by frame, and you can see that Falcon, the scumbag that he is, he decides to kick the ball straight to his hand, but Marco Pasalic sees that, tucks. If you're watching me, tucks like like a little chicken wing, his arm to the chest, and the ball hits him right above his heart on the badge, and then falls on his feet. It's a goal. By the way, it's the one play that VAR reviewed. They decided not to review our PK and decided not to review the one given to Miami. If we
Well,
have
David, they
VAR,
did VAR did review it, but
did
they didn't
review it.
bring it down to the field.
Wait a second. So if they reviewed it,
They
they
reviewed both the no penalty call with Angulo and then the penalty call with Brecalo. VAR reviewed it in the booth and stuck with the decision on the field.
Wow.
wow.
They said that in the broadcast both. They
That's
said the
just
VAR check's
corruption, bro.
complete.
I'm sorry. It's
Play stand.
corruption. It's corruption. So
So while we're talking about this, for those watching, we do have, the videos in case, you missed it or, something like that. We do have the videos of the three instances that we're talking about. Just so just to show that we're not, kind of full of it, if you will. So this is the play with the no
Oh my
the
God.
penalty
I
that
can't
wasn't
watch
called.
that, man. I can't.
Um,
He's literally stepping in his way.
yes,
He's literally like,
I mean that's to me, to anybody that watches, unless you're a Miami or a Messi fan, that everybody and their brother is saying that is a penalty.
listen, guys. When Latin American
oh,
newscast and talking heads call this corruption and robbery, how he touches his face? He didn't even touch his face. We're reviewing the first
And
yellow on Brecalo.
now we have the Breclo's first yellow card
That's
where
come on,
DePaul or whatever his name is goes down like he got shot with a slug in the face.
outrageous.
And
like when
Breclo
do
didn't
they?
even hit him. And one thing real quick on this play that I want to say, I've said it for a while, that if a player if a player goes down holding his face like that, and VAR, first back up, VAR should be able to review every yellow card because it's a major decision. You're one play away from being.
Should be a red if that was a foul worthy of a card because he's touching his
But
face.
the yellow cards need to start, and this is a FIFA thing. This isn't just us. This is FIFA. Needs to start reviewing yellow cards. Most yellow cards are very quick, very very quick. It's not like offside or a red card or anything like that. In an instance like that, where he didn't even make contact with the face, barely made contact with his body, that play would get overturned in a normal circumstance. So because he got the yellow card, and there was a situation where I believe it was Diego Luna a week or two ago got sent off, and it wasn't even a foul on him,
Yes.
and because it was his second yellow card.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just this circumstance that I've thought that for a while. And the funny part about that is my dad was saying how that, they need to be able to review that when Breclo's play happened. Because of what ended up happening, Orlando had to change the way they played because you look at the players that got yellow cards for us and they didn't. And to go back to the Angulo one and what Busquets said, how he couldn't get out of the way, what's he supposed to do? Turn into a ghost? There was a play just a couple minutes before that where the Miami guy hits it around Schlegel, goes into Schlegel's body, doesn't try to go around Schlegel like Angulo did. The guy goes right into Schlegel's body. They call Schlegel for a foul and give him a yellow card when he really couldn't do anything because he was already standing there. So, Busquets, you're talking about both sides of your mouth then. And then, here's the one that hurts, the penalty call that they called on Brecalo. There's a couple different angles of it here. And, most of the time, if it's a penalty, when it looks like it's just a normal run of play like this, there's not a penalty called. You look at the close-up angle here. I don't understand how you can say it's a penalty. But like David was saying, international media, was saying that Argentinian media was saying that media for, and it's an atrocity. It really is.
And again, they had 60 plus thousand people in Seattle. I online I said, hey, this is the reason why we were cheated. Some Seattle fans were like, well, we always pack the house, and you definitely could, but the reality is that uh, this had an effect on the viewership. Okay, this had an effect on the social media traffic, and again, I'm perfectly fine losing to the better team, but if we are going to sacrifice, I'm gonna go on an ether rant,
Oh boy.
okay?
Let me get my
Listen,
drink.
yeah, for sure. This is the thing that bothers me about all this. Our um, Jared Dillon and Luis Musi and Ricardo Moreira expressed themselves about this, okay, publicly. All right. And the club is going to explore their options through the channels. God bless them. I don't think it's going to matter, okay, because, they're just going to tell us to shut up and play ball, shut up and dribble. The fact of the matter is, if many fans have already canceled the season tickets. They're like, I give up. I cancel my Apple Plus. The fact is that if we're gonna spend money thinking that we have a fair shot at winning, and then the somebody in HQ in New York is gonna be like, no, well, we need to do this so we can sell more Messi jerseys. Then we are the WWE. We are not a respectable football league. If this is what we're doing, where the outcomes are decided before the gameplay starts. We always say the football is played on grass, not on paper. And if you're doing that, you're gonna lose me. You're gonna lose me. It's too late for me because I already deep into the season tickets. It's too late for me to back out. But if this coming up year, this is what I'm gonna see, you're gonna lose my money. Okay, and I'm the type of guy that has supported this club, uh, through the good and the bad, day in day out. And thank you, JJ. We're gonna read those comments in a second. The fact of the matter is, my friends, is that you cannot do that. You cannot do that. I have spoken with people that work at the club, and they are as mad and as angry as you. Okay, as mad and as angry as you. So don't think that our front office it's saying, oh well, jeepers creepers, that's life. They are furious about this, and I'm gonna say this: if Don Garber thinks that Messi Lover 69 in India, some guy that is probably 13, 14 years old, is the guy that he wants to be tailoring the marketing for. I got news for you. Messi Lover 69 doesn't watch the games because he doesn't have the $99 to watch this. He's not gonna he's not gonna get up in the middle of the night to watch these games. That guy is right now is lucky if he has a flushing toilet in his house, and lucky if he has electricity 12 hours of the day. This is the problem that we are having. We're tailoring our fan base to have to get involved in those Pessy, Penaldo, Fuse, and crap. These people don't watch our league. They consume highlights. That's all they do. They don't buy merch. They buy Chinese knockoffs in their countries. The reality is, my friends, is that we are sacrificing the fan, because the three things that a league has is transparency, integrity, and fair play. Did we have that on Wednesday? Absolutely no. Not. Am I salty? Am I angry? Am I salty? Am I angry? Absolutely. Yeah, am I all that? Because I thought this tournament was a farce, and then all of a sudden I allowed myself. By the way, I didn't go to any of the games, even though season ticket holders got free tickets. I stayed home. I watched it, yeah, but I stayed home. I allow myself to dream that we could win this trophy fair and square. And listen, we know what happened. I don't know if you guys saw that the trophy, they already had the plaque for Inter Miami on top of the trophy, ready to etch their name on the trophy. And live on TV, they had to take it off and then put Seattle Sounders. If you think, if you think the fix wasn't in, I got another thing coming for you. I got a bridge in Brooklyn I can sell you. The reality, my friends, is very clear. It was robbery. It was robbery. It was corruption. This doesn't even happen in third divisions in the third world. Why in the hell are we doing that in the United States of America? Why are we alienating fans that paid their money? Listen, fans have two things: money and time. Money and time. And if you are going to insult them, spit on their cupcake, and tell them that is frosting, I have a thing coming without us, because the pandemic already showed that without us, without our money, this is just 22 men kicking a ball in an empty stadium. And if Don Garber, you are a corrupt piece of trash. And I told you on social media, and I will love to tell you in front of your face. What you're doing is destroying our sport just so you can line up your pockets. This is outrageous. The only people that disagree with me tonight are Inter Miami fans and the West Africa, India mother efforts that follow their sorry ass club and that failure of Messi. Because what you saw after the game, them fighting, when you have a player spitting on an old man and nothing happens, and you have a grown man punching a 40-something-year-old man, punching a 20-year-old kid, and nothing happens. And then you fly fans over there to start throwing chairs and attacking five fans and stuff like that. No, I'm sorry. No, 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 no. If you guys don't mind reading some of the comments, and while I calm down, because I am, my blood pressure's through the roof, because I thought that we actually had a fair chance, and we did.
Yeah. All right, I'll bring up some of the comments. Let's see. Let me start at the top here. Jim D. Good evening, sir. Jim says, well. I don't know what to say. The Leagues Cup is a strange tournament. Besides all that, people always state that Poppy is a great tournament coach. Not sure I agree with that. And you are right, my friend. I'm just not even gonna. Tour rep says, Sua Tua. Spit on that thing. David, you jumped ahead. I was waiting to get to that. That was just. Let's see. Misael was saying that he couldn't hear Lucas. Tour rep says, "Thank you, Seattle, from saving us from the pesky fans from the third world countries." Speaking of scumbag Falcone, he had a Seattle player in a rear naked chokehold like he was auditioning for Dana White in the UFC. Jason Jose said, "You lost me." Tour rep 1 says, "Don Garbage," and Jason Jose goes on to say, "I said this 4 years ago that at the World Cup, Infantino did it also." If we're jumping forward to the match on
Well, before we jump forward,
Yeah.
I wanted to do one more thing, show one more thing.
Yeah.
After the game, Atuesta became one of my favorite players in purple this year, because he, for those that don't know the history of what we shared this picture of Atuesta kind of waving his arms back and forth. For Americans, we know it as like the safe sign in baseball. But basically, the history of that is back, I believe it was 2012, 2013. Chelsea was playing Barcelona, who, there was several players in that game that'll remain nameless playing for Barcelona. The refereeing was horrible. If I recall correctly, there was a missed penalty that should have been called on Barcelona that resulted in, after the match, when the match was over, the cameras are all over the players, and basically they showed Didier Drogba doing that same signal, saying it's a effing disgrace, back, multiple times with that hand motion. And Atuesta, one, for him to have the guts to do it, said something, and then for him to actually remember to do that and know the meaning of that and everything is incredible and beyond me. And it's just we saw the comments from, like David was saying, the comments from the front office of our club. We saw Poppy have to show some self-control and stop talking about the refereeing so he didn't get in trouble, so he didn't get a fine and or suspension. It's what we've come to expect. I've said it, the last two, especially the last two World Cups that Argentina's won, they haven't won without cheating. You have the Maradona hand of God that I don't know how anybody missed. And then you have Argentina this past year, who had, much like the League's Cup, an insane number of penalties called for them. You got to think, Argentina this past World Cup lost to, was it Saudi Arabia? They lost to. Mm-hmm. And, and then somehow they magically find their form and won the World Cup. What they magically found was the referee's whistle that he wouldn't stop blowing for them. And unfortunately, it's something that's going to continue to happen until, Don Garber's out of office, because this won't be the last time it happens either. Once the next big superstar, there's only one other person in the world right now that's as big of a superstar as Messi, and that's Cristiano Ronaldo. But the thing that's so fascinating about it, I will say, I'd love to see a sociology person do a study on this, because obviously we have no relation to Cristiano Ronaldo, our club. Yet when we would post something about, and I'd never experienced it, David's way more in the weeds with the Twitter comments and everything than I am. But, I commented on some things, made some posts and everything. The amount of people that commented, accounts that commented, not just on X, on TikTok as well, and Instagram, that had no followers, only responded to tweets, posts, whatever. And you look at who they followed, and it was 30 accounts for Messi. But then if they weren't even commenting about the game, they would post memes of Ronaldo or pictures showing different calls Ronaldo got, this, that, and the other. Look, I'm not going to act dumb. I know in every other sport, in every other soccer league, the stars get more calls than the normal Joe Blow person would get. But this isn't just calls for one person. I understand protecting your stars and everything. This is calls for his entire team. You go all the way back to 2023 when we played them in the League's Cup, and it looked like Joseph Martinez got shot by a sniper in the box with no contact, and the referee called a penalty. It's so interesting that we can beat them an aggregate of 7-1 in the regular season with decent referees, but then we go to League's Cup, that we've said since they changed the format. We got to say since it stopped beginning, because technically it started in 2019, which I forgot about because nobody paid attention to it until 2023 when they changed the format. When they changed the format, they knew Messi was coming. We sat on this show and said they're going to formulate this tournament so Messi can win a trophy. And I know they didn't win the trophy this past year, but they also didn't play at home. So, but you look at the calls in that game. Yes, Miami had more fouls called, but you look at when they were called and where they were called. When at the end of the day, Miami is a terrible football club. They have a good attack, they have a terrible defense, and a below average midfield, especially when it comes to defending. They foul more than every other team when you watch the game. If you look at the stats at the end of the game, they don't. So the refereeing is a massive issue in this league. It's been a massive issue in this league since I've started following it, the league itself, which was 2015. It's always been a massive issue, and they really need to do something about their referees, among other things, which I'll get to later. But they really need to do something about the refereeing in this league because of how poor it is.
John, you're cutting off. I don't know if you can hear that, Ahmed.
Yeah, I can't hear it, but I'll go ahead and read JJ's comments, and then we'll move on. So Jason said, I said this 4 years ago at the last World Cup, and Fatino did it also, which I touched on. He said that while David was talking. He said that is why the Saudi League is bigger than MLS. I'm assuming he's talking about match fixing. I don't pay attention to the Saudi League because I don't have a team in it. He said it's not only about the money, it's about fairness and refs. I'm assuming he's talking about just the league as a whole. And then he finishes saying, in the Saudi League, they bring refs from around the world and they don't favor Ronaldo.
And you know one thing, John, real quick, it's to remind everybody that the refs that are on this tournament are not necessarily pro referees, because I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, pro referees, fixer." Most of these guys are from outside of the United States, and that was the case Wednesday night. So this, the cynic amigos, who's guaranteeing the fairness of the referee? Who's to say that somebody offered this person money and or said, hey, by the way, this is the result that we want, and it would be nice to get that result. That's all I'm saying. Listen, I'm gonna go down to my grave. We were robbed. I'm not ever gonna recognize the result. And if that makes me salty, that makes me a crybaby, so be it. Because we beat you 7-1 on aggregate, and then magically, all of the sudden, we get a penalty that changed the dynamic of the game. First of all, you gave us all those yellows, and with all those yellows, changes the way we are playing. And then at the end, you put us down a man with a tie game, and you don't think that Messi is gonna exploit the fact that you have a numeric advantage? I'm sorry, no.
And
I am
said
angry.
the VAR was Armando Villarreal, however you say his last name.
Yeah,
he's a pro referee. And
wow.
you look at the way I feel we got very fortunate with the Pasalic goal. I could have, being partial, I could see where that could have been called a handball. But there wasn't enough evidence there to show if it hit his hand when his hand was here or when his hand was up against his body and it hit him up here in the chest shoulder area. Because even if his hand is like in a natural position, if you remember Duncan's goal last year towards the end of the season, the ball just randomly popped up and hit his hand when it was next to him, and they called him for a handball. If it hits any part of the arm that is considered a part of the arm that would be for a handball and it leads directly to a goal, it has to be called back for a handball. So even though his arm was up here, if it hit his arm, went to his foot, and then he kicks it in, it's called back. But the fact that the Angulo wasn't sent to the field and made a penalty. The Brecula one, the camera angles we got were terrible. It looks like it was shot from a potato, so I can't say here nor there if it was or wasn't. My instinct, because if you look at the play, it doesn't look anything out of fashion. But I don't know.
to be devil's advocate, let's say they call the goal back. Okay, you're 0-0 going to the showers, and then you come back. Do you grant us the PK? And guess what? It's 1-0 with them having 10 men. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is that their decisions made that night change the outcome of the game. And that's something that all the talent, all the money, all the managerial expertise cannot fight against. The fact that our manager had to measure what he was saying for the fear of suspension when you have two players duking it out as if it was, a night at the homecoming in the school gym with no repercussions, that's problematic to me, my friends. That's probably when two players are throwing punches at. Listen, spitting is a criminal offense in any state and territory of the United States. It's assault with a bodily fluid. Depending on the state, you could just have a fine, have a community service to jail time. These two players do that, and they jump on the airplane, they went home. Meanwhile, our managers are and our front office personnel has to reword tweets because we don't want to offend anybody. We don't want to get suspended. Meanwhile, players can go on the field and do that. That, my friends, is where I draw the line. Why is it that like I said on Then After Dark with our friends from Orlando Lions? Then the reason why these guys do what they do, Macherano and all those thugs is because they think they're better than the league, better than the fan base, better than the country, better than the team they play in. They're like, Barcelona, Europe, world champions in the World Cup. They feel that you are beneath them. That's the
And
way.
don't even get me started, David, on Barcelona, because it was found, when they were making their runs in the, late 2000s into the 2010s and teens, that they were doping actively, and the Liga covered it up.
Not surprised.
Or the club, somebody covered it up. I don't want to misspeak and say it was for sure La Liga,
No,
but somebody covered it up.
By when European clubs are like they are the like wrestlers, light sheet steel, like Nature Boy Ric Flair, light sheet steel. That's the reality of their and that's why I'm sorry they don't catch me with that. Perhaps I'm an idealist, I'm a naive person that want fairness, that want parity. And then again, I live in a country where politicians making $50,000 a year retire as millionaires. Wonder how that happens. Anyhow, we have some comments, and I guess we can move on to talk about Saturday.
Hold on, let me bring him up here.
We
Or
were right
Sunday, that
here.
is.
Oh, you got it, John?
Yeah. JJ said 50-50 on Pasalic. Angulo was a PK. Miami was not a PK. Breclo's first yellow was ridiculous. Ray says, my dad says, I have too many things to be brief. League's Cup is a joke. The missed penalty kick call is an automatic call anywhere, any league. What is VAR for? Where's the accountability for center ref and VAR? That's been an issue we've talked about constantly. In North America, especially. You look at the guy; it's the same one that refed our match in 2023 against Miami. You got to remember, shortly before that, he was the center referee for the U.S. Mexico match. I believe it was in the Gold Cup that spiraled out of control. There was, I think, a total of 5 or 6 red cards between both teams in that match, because it just basically turned in, by the end of the match, turned into one giant brawl between the two teams. He was in the middle of that one as well. And, he's still out there reffing, CONCACAF matches. And, there's never been any sort of accountability for any refs here unless they gamble on a match. You look at baseball and the guys that still get games behind the plate, even though they have, the numbers show they're terrible umpires. You look at the NBA the refs there are terrible. You look at NFL, You could go down every league. There's zero accountability for officials in this league. And, our league's catching up to where it's getting to be a problem, just like it is in the other leagues.
We have a couple more.
JJ continued saying, "Don't forget, MLS tweeted the happiness on Miami's goal. Despicable. For those that didn't see it, despicable."
I have something to say about that.
And then Torrep says, "Not Ric Flair, Eddie Guerrero."
Latino Heat. Thank you, brother. Hey, listen, I'm old.
So I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm old. I made mistakes. Eddie Guerrero, rest in peace, my guy. Awesome wrestler. I don't know what is it with podcasts for football that we end up always talking about football. I was watching the podcast for Stevenage this past week, and they did the same. So I don't know, maybe a correlation. But listen, this I'm gonna say. Despicable that the league account behave like a fan. Despicable, especially when the Sounders won. It was the most uh, corporate bland tweet in the world. Meanwhile, we're posting stupid tweets or posts, whatever you want to call them nowadays, of the admin, punching his keyboard in excitement. Disgusting. Let me tell you, I gotta tell you one thing. This past week, in the Carabao Cup in England, um, Grimsby, okay, Grimsby, which is I'm gonna give you a little bit of story. They a team that my beloved Steve Ennis, take your shot, played many times. A team that we defeated on our way to get promoted to League One, and one, believe it or not, we have a ton of fans in Grimsby that come to the games when they're on holiday, on vacation here to the U.S. And I want to send a shout out to all of them. I know a few, by the way, and and from time to time they catch us, so this past week they defeated the Manchester United. That's the beauty of football. A fourth division team beats a premiership. Did the League Two account win bunkers? No, they just retweeted stuff from the club that was very complimentary, very nice, very exciting, but very respectful. And then you see that in the country that gave us the beautiful gift of the language that we're using right now to communicate, and the sport, and then here in the United States, we got out like clowns. I don't get it. I don't get it. Listen, if Messi is the best in the world, like you say that he doesn't need help from the refs. He doesn't need help from the front office, HQ in New York. He doesn't need help. If anything, it hurts his legacy because I have said it many times. I'm not Argentinian. He has never played for any team that I rooted for. I was completely indifferent with the Ronaldo and indifferent. It's just whatever. It went over my head. Now I have so much hate for this person that I have never met. Perhaps he's the nicest guy in the world. I don't know, but the fact is that I am so sick of his fans and the people that protect the so-called legacy, because you know what it is, it takes away from me, from my club, and from our goals. So yeah,
I wouldn't even put it there, David. It's not what being a sports fan is about. They treat this guy like he's a god. The closest thing I've ever seen anybody be treated like this on a public spectrum. The league feeds into that because they get, a couple thousand more clicks on social media for it. And people want to call it that Messi has a big influence on the league. He doesn't. In my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions, look at social media. This league is in a worse place today than it was 2.5 years ago when Messi had just entered the league. And, the league could have done it correctly. I wasn't watching enough when Beckham came to compare it. But the league could have done it correctly, could have made him where he was, yes, a star, but he was also just another player. Didn't center every bit of marketing the league itself does on a national scale around him. because you've got other players doing what they've done while he's been here. You look at what Lucho Acosta was doing in Cincinnati in 2023, one of the, best seasons any player's ever had from a productivity standpoint. You look at what, I'm trying not to be a homer.
Let's not go far. Joseph Martinez, hate to admit it, but he had a fantastic season in 2018.
But that was before Messi, though.
Right. And those guys disappeared. I mean, the fact that we have signed players of not Messi's caliber. Let me say that.
Son is a bigger signing.
Right.
The guy LAFC just signed.
And you will never know.
Younger, he actually takes it more serious. And he's actually going to bring, look at what's happened to baseball, Major League Baseball, with when Ichiro was signed in Seattle. What happened in Japan when Ichiro was signed? Now, Son's from South Korea, I believe. So they're going to watch the league, and when they see this garbage that they pull for Messi and Inter Miami at any drop of the hat, they're not going to pay attention. But if they went, Son's playing, Son's team's playing LA or Messi's team today, let's watch it. And it's a fair match. It's, the players act respectful towards the sport. That is a big thing in their culture of showing respect to the sport. Every international tournament, there's always videos coming out of their fans of our sport picking up after themselves with trash bags in their section. Respect is a huge thing in their culture. And if they show the mockery, not just from the officials, but from the players themselves, the disrespect that those spoiled adult brats have for the sport that's made them millionaires is unbelievable. And the league just stands by and watches. And JJ has one more comment. I'll say it because I have more to say on that. He said, I lost all respect to Messi because what MLS and Don Garber has done. John, you are right. League has gone backwards. I've never been a Messi fan. I've always thought he's been, been pampered and been given every benefit of the doubt his entire career. I'll leave this kind of jump into that Messi versus Ronaldo debate. If you had two teams, 11v11, you knew nothing about either side, and you had a player like Ronaldo and playing against a player like Messi, who would your eyes go towards? If you say Messi, you're being skewed because of the conversation. It's Ronaldo. Ronaldo's going to catch your attention, and Ronaldo's going to make a bigger difference on the match. Messi does not make the players around him better. He makes them worse.
All right. So with that, what happened Sunday as we head out west to the third place game? I mean,
listen, I think we kind of covered it. We didn't come out like we should. We didn't come out like we should in the Miami game, and we didn't come out like we should in that match. I feel obviously there's a different circumstance for us on the match yesterday because we were in a different situation. And honestly, I feel a big part of that had to do with the team's perspective on the way things unfolded, right? You can say that they're professional. You're professional, but you're still a person. And when you get treated that way, it deflates you no matter who you are. If you're a 12-year-old, if that happens to you, and if you're 25 years old playing professionally, it's hard to let that go, right? And I truly believe that between missing the key pieces that we were missing, right, and having that situation, I don't know that I would have been able to do any different than the guys did and really forget about it and focus on it, right? Is it an excuse to come out that way? No. And I'm not saying that the guys didn't give it everything, but deep inside, that had to really sting.
I was doing other things yesterday, spending the day with my family. I said from the get-go I didn't care about this tournament unless we won it. So I wanted to watch it, but things happen where we we were supposed to do things Saturday. They got postponed to Sunday because of the rain. But I did turn the match on for 5 minutes and proceeded to watch Ojeda head a ball on net and get absolutely clobbered. That wasn't called a penalty. Clobbered way more than the Miami player got clobbered on Wednesday when he headed the ball. Ojeda was down for quite some time, as was the other guy. The hit was it was basically an American football hit.
Yeah, he landed on him like on his side.
I equated it to, the old school hit of when a receiver would catch it over the middle, stretched out, and
Like, bop,
the safety comes in and lays them out. That's about how it was, and no penalty was called. I don't even know if it was reviewed. So obviously it was later.
It wasn't reviewed.
Yeah, okay.
Well, not that I know of. They didn't mention a review, but
but our travel schedule the last week has been horrific. I'm not trying to give excuses. I'm giving reasons. Our travel schedule the last 7 days has been, I'm sorry, what is that?
Last week and a half. We went.
Week and a half. Thank you.
We
It's been
went
terrible.
to LA.
We went from LA to Nashville,
right,
to Miami. Back to LA. That's going to kill any team's, ambition, mentality, what have you. And then, my personal opinion is, as bad as the match was on Wednesday, refereed and handled by the, league, CONCACAF, Leagues Cup, the tournament itself, whoever you want to blame it on. In my opinion, yes, I know money was at hand, and I know a Champions Cup spot was at hand, but they just should have stayed home out of protest.
Yeah.
Why not? It's not worth our players potentially getting injured, something stupid happening. We were missing, apparently Janssen got red carded at the end of the match, which magically came out on Friday or Saturday, and there's nothing about it. Wednesday, nothing on the apps about it, the statistics about it happening, and magically on Friday it came out that Friday night it came out that he was suspended because he received a red card, which is interesting. I will say apparently what he said was hilarious, something to the effect of he told the refs to go celebrate with Miami or something like that, allegedly, and that's what he was given the red card for.
Was we wrong?
But, it is what it is. Now we get, 13 days to recover till our next match up in DC. And, this tournament's what we said it was from the beginning, is a mockery.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Tournament hoping to get Miami, Miami a trophy, which the trophy looks about as fashionable as their club is, because I know what we're gonna be talking about here in a moment.
No, for sure.
Put this up real quick, and then we have nothing else, we can move on to what happened in the final last night. So my dad, Ray, said, I hope we refuse to play in Leagues Cup ever again. Format is a complete joke. Not sure why we had to make 2 West Coast trips in 11 days. Yeah, I mean, the format, until they do, the true pool play was a better format. But like we said last week, in my opinion, it won't be if they want to do it the way they did it, then it has to be a home and home, where we play in the knockout stages. And then when it's played here, if you look at the league standings, and we placed 4th last year, and then we play Atlas, who placed, I think it was like 8th or something around there in their league. It would have been at our house, but then if we played a team that was 3rd, 2nd, or 1st, it would have been at their place. That's the only way in the current format to even make it remotely fair, because 2 of the Mexican teams came out of a group where you had to play in New York City, and I believe it was Montreal was one of the other teams that Tigres and the team that Seattle had to play, I believe.
Of America, I believe it was.
Yeah, but you look at who came out from Mexico and who came out from the U.S. Us and Miami played the same teams, and then Tigres and another Mexican team played the same teams. kind of shows you it had nothing to do about necessarily how good you were, but how, about who you played more so.
And the one thing I liked about the concept of this year is that you were rewarding the teams that scored the most goals, because you could have won all your games 1-0 and still wouldn't move past the initial round. I thought that was pretty cool to reward goal scoring, because at the end of the day, let's be honest, fans love to see goals, and that's the thing that I liked about the format how it was this year. But we have to settle with something that is standardized,
And
because
it needs to be fair for the Mexican teams
for
too.
sure, absolutely, we have to play in Mexico. We have to play in Mexico.
Yes.
Otherwise,
And what you want to go talk about the tiebreakers, it just needs to be goal differential. That rewards scoring and defending at that rate.
Right.
Almost every other league does it, and competition does the tiebreaker in the knockout rounds or the first phase, whatever you want to call it, or I'm not the group stage or knockout phase. They'd make the tiebreaker goal differential. And the MLS for our league, the tiebreakers is wins. Would you rather have a team, like us that has 13 wins, 8 draws, and 7 losses, or a team like Nashville that only has one more win than us, 4 less draws, or 3 less draws, and is it 3 more losses or something to that effect? Where you look at us and we've avoided losing more than the team above us, but yet because they have one more win, they get the tiebreaker.
yeah, well, that's true. Talking about that, obviously, Leagues Cup is going to be put back in the cup board, I guess, until next year. If our standings on the playoffs stand as they are right now, that will mean that we'll be well. If we would have, if for any reason we get to be on champions, and the only way that we can right now is if we finish top two in the East or we win the MLS, then that means no Open Cup next year. As of right now, we return to the Open Cup. We return to Leagues Cup on whatever rules they decide for next year. We have 13 days of rest. In the East, as of right now, the challenge is Miami, which has several games in hand. They have to play 7 games in 13 days. Obviously, they're gonna drop points. The way they are right now, Messi doesn't go to away games, and basically they're playing weekend Wednesday, weekend Wednesday, weekend Wednesday. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't care who you are, traveling all over the country. I don't think you're gonna win all those games. So, with that said, we return, and we'll be talking about that on next week. So I don't want to go into deep into it. As of right now, 2 teams in the East have been eliminated, and one is DC United, who we play when we return to gameplay, and Montreal. They're officially eliminated, with Philadelphia being unlocked for the postseason. In the West, San Diego, Minnesota are in the postseason, with no teams officially eliminated as of right now. Also, we have some unforeseen news. Our boy Wonder, Ramiro Enrique, son of 1986 world champion, El Negro Enrique, um, leaving us for Saudi Arabia. Shocking news. It seems like we are going to be making $4 million on the deal. Obviously, some of that money is going to go back to Banfield. I believe that was his club in Argentina. The team that he's going to, Al Khaloud, I believe that's the name. I looked it up. Is a city of 125,000 people in the middle of Saudi Arabia, in the middle of the desert. They play in a stadium that sits 8,000 people, which they share with another team that is in another division. And wow, I gotta say, I've been to that part of the world. I've been to the UAE. I've been to Bahrain. No trees, a lot of sand, stifling heat in the summer. And as far as I know, it's gonna be a huge change for Ramiro, who's coming from a Spanish-speaking heavily Hispanic city that is similar to where he came from in Argentina, where he can get Argentinian food wherever he wants to go, Argentinian products pretty much in every Publix, to a place where he's probably gonna be the only Hispanic. What do you guys think about that?
Culture shock is a thing.
Shocking. I mean, the fact that we would do it and we can't. He was being relatively productive for us. I mean, I know we got Duncan back, but he's been injured a lot, in the last year. Um, just surprised that we would take the risk with only two strikers. I mean, I guess Ojeda can jump in there if he needed. I'm sure Marco could do an okay job in there at striker, but surprising. I think it's clearing out who we can, because I really have a gut feeling that this winter might be a winter of change, which we haven't had the last 3 seasons really, where we get rid of a lot of players that fans have come close to. We know Freeman's probably going to be on the move. Ojeda may be on the move. We got several players coming to the end, coming up on option years, that probably won't be renewed, or may not be renewed. I should put it that way. So I see, potentially a lot of change this next year. We could be, a lot of the guys that signed homegrowns this year could be seeing a lot more minutes next year. So it's going to be an interesting offseason, but I really feel like they kind of did it because if you do it after December 31st, most teams would just sign him to a pre-contract, and then we wouldn't get anything for him.
All right, this is going to be interesting because Luis Muriel got a red card, so we're going to DC with Duncan McGuire, Fabian Loyola. That's basically the other two center forwards that we have on the roster, right? Well, if you go on transfer market, obviously our center forwards were Duncan McGuire, Ramiro Enrique, Luis Muriel, and Fabian Loyola. Fabian Loyola's contract expires in December. He's basically has been a OCB guy. I don't think we're moving forward with him. He has failed to, in my opinion, to impress to be a first team player. And I say that with a lot of respect. And he's gonna do fantastic in USL. That's all I gotta say.
I see us picking up Ellis for that match to a short-term loan.
Okay, fair enough. Luis Muriel, like I said, has a red card. And then Ramiro Enrique.
Loyola doesn't even play as a number 9 on the B team. Loyola is usually a winger or a midfielder.
I got you, brother. I'm just going here. We have, like you said, we're gonna be clearing the decks come December because we have a lot of players that are on a contract, including Pedro. I'm looking over our roster, and these are my predictions. I think we signed Pedro. I was very impressed by Carlos Mercado at OCB. If you want to do yourself a favor for the goalkeeping sickos, go watch the highlights for the last game. I'm gonna say something outrageous here. I think our our future is with Carlos Mercado. Javier Otero, great guy. I think he's gonna be a fantastic number 2. But right now, on skill and performance, I think Carlos Mercado is our guy moving forward. You got Robin Jansen, contract expiring in December. I think that we're going to re-sign him. Thomas Williams, definitely for that position. He's a
Thomas re-signed this past year.
he did. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. I'm going basically with information that is not up to date. Adrian Marin, I'm sorry. The guy he has not impressed. Yeah, I'm
His
sorry.
contract doesn't expire until the summer.
Right. He has not impressed to me. I just don't. I really don't rate him much. But again, football is cruel and unpredictable. He may do so moving forward. Reed Brown. Not much to say about that. DDT, his contract is up in December as well. Alex Freeman, we all know that most likely he'll be sold. Cal Smith, after he was at fault for that first LA goal. I think his time has come. Great guy, awesome servant of this football club, but I think age and talent. Are coming knocking, and if I want to have somebody coming off the bench, I'd rather be somebody else. Hindsight 2020, right? I think we should have rolled the dice with Thomas Williams instead of Cal Smith. But again, we're creatures of habit, and he has been serviceable in the past. Cesar Araujo, his contract is expiring as well. Willer Cartagena, his contract is expiring. He's been injured, so we don't know what's going to happen there. Jordan Gerbet, fantastic signing. I think that this kid has a lot of untapped potential that we haven't seen. Gashki, we haven't seen a lot of that in the first team. Taifi, another player for the future that has a lot to say. I really like his aggressiveness and his style. He's only 19 years old. Eder Atuesta, his contract will be up this December. I think that we can do better in that position. To be quite honest, I want something more. I want Pisas in that position, and unfortunately, he has failed to impress me. Martin Ojeda, without saying, he's a player that has to be resigned. Ivan Angulo, it's time to. My apologies. Ivan Angulo is. I think his time has come to an end. To be honest with you, that 1v1 left a lot to be desired. Tyrese Spicer, another guy that, in my opinion, great signing. Yutaro Sukada, we don't know what the future plans are with him, since he was injured at the beginning of the year. Marco Pasalic, without a guy for the future. Nicolas Rodriguez had his moments. We still have to see what's out there. Gustavo Carvalho, another player for the future. Kid just turned 17 years old, and it's already
Scored a goal on his Venezuelan debut as well for the
yes, for the Venezuelan national team. Thank you, John. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to go speedy so I can mute my microphone. And then Duncan McGuire. We don't know what kind of player we're gonna get after the injury. Ramiro Enrique is already gone. Luis Muriel, you know, we thought that we were getting the second coming of Luis Muriel, and it seems like he just gave us three great games and disappeared. And Fabian Loyola, like I said before. So that's my view on that. Anything else, guys, that you think that we should touch before we say goodbye?
I mean, I think we can touch on what what happened last night in the final at the end. For those that live under a rock, Seattle won the League's Cup, so they beat Miami. Outside of the spectacle that happened at the end, interesting fact that came up. One of the guys from Lions Den posted it. Miami's only has in the last 3 matches hasn't scored a goal without it being a penalty or being up a man. And last night was no different. There was no penalties that were awarded to Miami and no send-offs, so they were never up a man to score a goal. And then after the match, if you haven't seen the video, look it up. It's everywhere still. 24 hours later, it's everywhere. And just kind of proves the lack of respect that Miami and their players. It looks like we lost Ahmed, so I'm not sure what happened. So I'll just jump into this now, David. But the lack of respect that and the amount of entitlement that Miami and their players have when it comes to this sport. And it's truly, truly abysmal that and it's not just the players, it's their front office, their coach, their owners. have for what's going on right now. You look at what how their front office is able to find a loophole or loopholes that no other club or very few other clubs have been able to find or use for some reason in the way they signed DePaul, or any of the other players that are not under that DP designation. You look at their lineup on paper, and you're like, oh, there's several players here that should be, outside of Messi and Alba, that's probably making, $7 to $10 million a year. But then you look at what their designation is, and they're not making that much money. You look at the payroll that's released annually for Miami, they're not making that much because the math just doesn't work out. So they're able to, go through and do stuff like that. Then you look at their behavior in matches towards the opposition, towards the referees. It's a mockery of the game, and it's just and the worst part is like I said earlier, nothing's going to change, with the current commissioner in, and it wouldn't surprise me if within the next 5, definitely 10 years, if the USL overtakes MLS from what we've seen from USL so far. They're instituting promotion relegation. All their clubs are grassroots clubs. You don't, once promotion relegation's a thing, there's no more paying to have a place in a, the top flight league. And the MLS, because of that, right now is, 100% at a crossroads. I thought when they, a couple years ago when they instituted the U22 designation for players that we use that. Every team uses that. We got Ramiro Enrique, we got Cesar Araujo, and we got Facundo Torres. The first year of that designation, I really thought that this league had left the time of being a retirement league in the dust. Didn't mean older players couldn't come here, but it meant, what the failed experiment that Miami has going on was going to be a thing of the past. And, apparently, based on how the league responds on their social media, it's what they want because it brings in the dollars. And, really the only way that the MLS is going to eventually become competitive with any of the top leagues in Europe is if they come in with a developmental approach to the game, saying, we're going to get these young players from South America, we're going to build them up, and then we're going to sell them to Europe. And, that's how this league is going to grow, not this signing a bunch of guys that are, in their mid to late 30s and let one team dictate how the league's going to go. That's not the way because guess what? When they all leave, that Miami is really going to be struggling for some time. They have players leaving their academy, on a weekly basis to join other teams because they don't see a pathway to the senior team. All of the reasons that we've given in the past, and the only reason all of this is going to change is if the owners of each MLS team have the guts, and I'm using that word because we try to keep it, PG here. You have the guts to vote Don Garber out through a vote of no confidence. And to me, if the owners looked at how every fan base in the MLS reacted to what happened Wednesday night, all of the dialogue that's happening on social media, and I'm sure on their other podcasts, that the fans are sick and tired of Don Garber and his clown antics. They should be sick of it too, because guess what? If there's not fans, there's not a team. And Don Garber has said himself when he got the job that he does not care about soccer. So why would you have somebody running a league that for the last 30 years almost, we're pushing 30 years now, that has been the only top tier professional league in the United States, but somebody's running it that doesn't care about the sport. No wonder our national team's not doing well. No wonder our national team's regressed, because they have a clown running the top league in the nation. They need to vote him out, elect a new player, a new commissioner that has a soccer background, has a passion for the sport, and the owners think they're making a lot of money now. Wait until this league starts actually thriving, and not counting on players like Messi to come in to, line their pockets. Once this league starts thriving, every owner will not have to worry about lining their pockets at all, because the money's just going to come flowing in. Every match is going to be sold out. You look at all over Europe, all over South America, what most of those matches look like, 4 or 5 divisions deep. Nearly every match is sold out. Away sections apart, because here away sections are different. You got a guy that okayed it for Miami to fly their fans out to the final yesterday, but then you see what happens at the end, because there's no parameters put about how away fans are supposed to be handled at matches. You have situations like that occurring all over the league, but the league isn't willing to step in and say any away fan needs to be in their own section. But yet they'll throw the people out that give the away fans are giving them grief. The home fans are giving it back, and the home fans are the ones that get thrown out. And until something changes, I already canceled my season tickets, not because of that. I support this club. I don't support the league. Those that did, hats off to you. It's not something I'm ready to do because of that yet. I canceled mine because we had a club. They changed the rule this year where it used to be 5 years and under 5 years the kid didn't need to have a ticket, and now it's 2 years and younger doesn't need a ticket. So I have my son's that age that he needs a ticket now, and we had to add that to our season tickets. That, along with the price, the price, how much the price has risen the last 2 years, we had to drop it. And until somebody running the league that cares about the sport and the fans, nothing's going. This league's going to flounder, and USL is going to take it over, and we can all go cheer on. In a couple of years, we'll all be cheering on Winter Garden and packing their stadium.
There you go, brother. Unfortunately, Ahmed can't rejoin us. He had an issue with his computer, and Misael has some personal issues that prevented him from joining us. I guess, John, we're gonna wrap it up next week. Obviously, we don't play this weekend, but we're gonna have enough news and stuff to talk about as we gear towards restarting our campaign. If you look at the calendar, it's September, so we are basically 6 weeks away from decision day and the start of the playoffs. So it should be heating up. John, do you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, if basically first in the East and Supporter Shield there's no chance for it now. So we just got to try for one of those top 4 spots and hope we get it. If we get second, there is a chance that, depending on what happens in the playoffs, that we could still qualify for Champions Cup because of the way things happen. It's the same way we were able to get it. Playing Champions Cup in 2024 was because we placed second. Cincinnati did something that got them qualified. I think they won Supporter Shield, so we were able to bump up and take that spot as the most points in the East. So these are the times that make being a fan of a team hard, a fan of a sport hard, caring as much as David and I do hard because we just want to see our team succeed. It is relieving seeing the two individuals that are the face of the front office post multiple things, one which was deleted because he was going to get in trouble if he kept that up. I guarantee you that. But if you're wondering what he said, just look at the title of the show, and that's what his post said directly after the match against Miami. So I think our front office, I said it on the show's account. I do feel for the fans, the players, and our front office, really all the front offices and players in the MLS that take this league seriously, but then the league continues to do things to show that it is an unserious league, and it's getting very tiresome.
I got you, brother. I would like to thank everybody that watched us live. We had about 30 something people. Everybody's going to be watching this later, and everybody that um, is it's going to listen to us uh, in their favorite podcast app. We'd like to remind everybody that we're on Facebook, we're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitch, we're on Blue Sky at In 90 Minutes Podcast. We're also on YouTube and on Twitch. So, and like I said, on your favorite audio podcast app. So, we want to thank everybody. These are the moments where supporting this club is tough. All I have to say is that, if you want instant gratification and easy, whatchamacallit, a hobby, pick up knitting or stamp collecting, this is football. And we are going to say goodbye as we usually do by reminding everybody that football is played on grass, not on paper. The football is cruel and unpredictable. The football is a panel talent and an ounce of luck. And if you haven't cried if you haven't cried over football for joy or anger, have you really football? From myself, from Ahmed, from John, from Misael, and our guest tonight, Lucas. May God bless you. And as always, vamos, Orlando!